The Montreal Canadiens and Kent Hughes have pulled it off again as they make a perfect signing, avoiding arbitration with young defenseman Jayden Struble, a guy who had some of the best advanced metrics on the entire team this year, is now inked on a contract that is a lot lower than a lot of people expected. We have to dive into the Jayden Struble 2-year contract, what it means for the Habs decor moving forward, as now there is quite a lot of competition, and how it also opens up some other avenues. All of that coming up on this episode of Habs Digest. And we're just going to start with this. Jayden Struble signed 2 years, $1.4125 million AAV. It feels a little specific, but this is basically, I just want to put this out there right away. It's basically the Arber Xhekaj contract from last year, sort of inflated for the new cap. Almost exactly. I didn't do the exact math, but it's pretty close because Arber Xhekaj signed a 2-year, $2.6 million deal last year. Jayden Struble this year, 2-year, this is going to be $2.825 million. So very, very similar for a guy in Jayden Struble that has incredible production for Montreal. We'll dive into that for a bit, but before we do, just leave your thoughts on this down below. Is this a W? Is this an L? Do you like this signing from Montreal or not? Because look, there are a lot of implications in this signing, especially when it comes to training camp, but I'm going to be talking about training camp a little bit later because there is a big question that has been raised with this signing, but we'll just give Jayden Struble his props right away here now, and you can see the Scotia stat projection. I use Scotia stat for a lot of the stat projections. Great follow on Twitter if you haven't. They had Jayden Struble at either a 1-year, $1.15 million, which is the most likely, or 2-year, $1.6 or $4 million AAV. Struble came in under that. So by the advanced analytics and by comparables of, you can see on the side there, Jordan Harris, Arber Xhekaj, Justin Barron, in terms of percentage of the cap, Struble is actually he came in a little bit below expected, which is really good, especially for his production. And it's also great to avoid arbitration. Now, we had a good feeling this signing was going to come before arbitration, because if things get to arbitration, it can typically get messy. But Struble ends up signing a near identical deal to Xhekaj, and honestly, I wonder what the holdup was before electing for salary arbitration, because this is pretty team friendly, especially when you look at these details here. Well, not only that, just his stats: 13 points in 56 games, plus he lays the body. That's great. Got into 2 playoff games. But I want to show you this. This is from Money Puck, which is where you can get a lot of details online on D pairings and forward lines. We knew the Hutson Struble pairing was good. I feel like we didn't realize just how good it was. Of all D pairings this season to play at least 150 minutes for Montreal, this is all of them, all 8 of them. You can see the lowest here is 265, Guhle, Hutson. Hutson Struble had a 60.7 expected goals percentage, as in when they were on the ice, they were 60% likely to score, while the other team was 40% likely to score. Whereas no other pairing on the entire team that played as much as 150 minutes had even above 51%. They were by far the most dominant puck-controlling D pairing Montreal had all season, bar none, which is insane to think about, right? This is mind-blowing. 10.1% higher than Guhle Carrier, which was the second best in terms of expected goals percentage. But it doesn't end right there, because this is maybe hard to see. It's a bit small, but I'll tell you what it says anyway. This is now sorted by expected goals against. So total expected goals against in the time they were on the ice. Which D pairing had the fewest expected goals against of all D pairings on Montreal that played at least 150 minutes together? It's Hutson and Struble again, beating out Matheson, Guhle, Hutson, Savard. Hutson Struble had the fewest expected goals against and had the highest expected goals percentage. Also, not just because they didn't play that much together, because there's pairings like Xhekaj, Savard, Matheson, Hutson that played a lot more than them, because expected goals against is just a counting stat. How about expected goals against per 60 minutes, as you see on the right side? 1.95, again, leading the team by a wide margin. So this is the kind of stuff that when I was talking about, or me and Jesse were talking about how Jayden Struble, his team, his agent is probably looking at these advanced metrics saying look, 13 points in 56 games, but have you seen the impact that he has had when he's been on the ice? Now, you could say, a lot of that's Hutson. Sure, but Hutson was a part of 4 different D pairings this year that all played 150 minutes together. You can see he played 482 minutes with Matheson, he played 265 minutes with Guhle, and he played 221 minutes with David Savard. None of them even close to the impact that Hutson Struble had in the 51 games they played. So when I'm saying this is a steal, if he can come even close to this kind of impact, that is going to be such a difference maker for this team. Now, this is going to add a little wrinkle to the team because now, as we know, the depth chart has gotten a lot more complicated with the addition of Noah Dobson. So Jayden Struble's spot, especially alongside Laine Hutson, is far from guaranteed. Now, I do have Hutson there on the top of LD, Dobson on the top of right D. The forwards are kind of lines, but the defense is more of just a depth chart on the left and right side. I know Guhle's a lefty, but anyway, he's played a bit of right D. But, I don't expect Hutson to play with Dobson. I think it might be Guhle Dobson, it might be Hutson Matheson, something like that. But again, it would not shock me to see Hutson Struble go again this year, because I know it's a small-ish sample size of 51 games, but that pairing was so good. And when you're a team that's trying to, especially push back into the playoffs and go into that contention window, when you can get high value out of low contract players, that is exactly what you want, right? So Jayden Struble, again, big if here, because there's other implications I'll talk about in a second, big if, but if he can play with Laine Hutson, and Hutson produces as a Norris caliber defenseman on his rookie scale deal, and Struble is putting up those same kind of advanced metrics as he did this past season, then Struble's probably playing like a $4 or $5 million defenseman if these advanced metrics stay the way they are, while on a $1.4 million contract. And especially with extensions coming up, that's what you need. You need high value out of small contracts. And I think Struble's in a prime position for that. But again, like I said, it raises the question now, because this is 7 defensemen on the Habs right now, with Hutson, Matheson, Xhekaj, Struble, Dobson, Guhle, Carrier. That's 7. And that's not to mention David Reinbacher, who, heading into this offseason, especially before we brought in Noah Dobson in that trade with the Islanders, he was penciled in, David Reinbacher was, to take one of the right D spots. We're it's yours. You're going to play with Laine Hutson in the future. And I think we all kind of just said that's definitely going to happen, right? But now I'm not so sure, because, I'm seeing a lot of people react to this signing and saying, well, Jayden Struble, this means maybe we can trade him now, or he might end up starting in Laval. And look, I guess there's a world where that happens, right? It's a very low cap hit. Almost all of it could be buried in Laval if we needed to. I think you can bury up to 1.3-ish million. Maybe it'll be 1.4 million this year. I'm not sure, but it's sort of designed in a way that you can bury it without getting hurt too much if you need to send him down. But again, I feel like it comes down to him and Xhekaj, right? David Reinbacher and Adam Engstrom are going to be fighting for a spot in camp. These guys want to get out of the AHL. Who wouldn't, right? Laval was a great team last year, the number 1 seed, almost made it all the way to the Calder Cup final. But you want to play in the show. You want to play with the Habs. And right now, it's tough. If no one gets traded, Matheson now, is he going to get traded? I don't think the Struble signing means Matheson's going to get traded. I think Matheson's a trade candidate for other reasons, but it's tough. It's just really tough. And, with Xhekaj and Struble both on very small deals, you can almost be okay with them playing in Laval. But again, with those advanced metrics with Struble, the playoff impact of Arber Xhekaj, and now with the potential of David Reinbacher, it just introduces this whole new situation where I'm not really sure what the 7 defensemen will be for Montreal this year. I think what this tells me at the very least is look, Reinbacher's going to absolutely have to earn his spot in camp. I mean, we knew this already, but nothing's getting given to these guys anymore, and that goes for the forwards too. I mean, bringing in Zach Bolduc, right? Bringing in even Joe Veleno, who, in my opinion, is slotted to be our 4C this year. I know some people have Kaiden or Beck penciled in there. I don't know if it's a hot take. I still think it's probably going to be Joe Veleno at the season start, just because he has that more of an NHL experience. He's played full seasons. He plays 70, 80 games a season. This guy can win some faceoffs as a left-hand guy. He's 46, 47%, and he has high-end skill, just hasn't really put it together as a former first-round pick. But with all these guys here, Kaiden, Beck, Joshua Watt, even a guy like Sean Farrell, who is small but had an unbelievable season last year, might be trying to knock on the door. So one thing Montreal, this message Kent Hughes is sending is you got to earn your spot. It's not just going to be given to you, right? And Jayden Struble, I think, again, with his advanced metrics last year, absolutely earned the contract. And especially when I heard he was electing for arbitration, this comes in at less of a cap hit than I would have anticipated, which is really a good thing. But again, it's going to come down to training camp. Will he earn that spot on defense? Will David Reinbacher be coming in and earning that spot on defense, knocking Struble out? Or will it be Xhekaj, who goes back to the AHL? Maybe they see his impact is not as high. And again, when you look at these advanced metrics for Jayden Struble, it stands out. It's a small sample size. Could it go way down this upcoming season? Yeah, it absolutely could. And that's why you don't sign him to a big contract based on just that season. But I want to hear what you guys have to say, because again, when I look at the numbers, it's hard to disagree that Jayden Struble was one of our more impactful defensemen this year. but it's a small sample size, and this contract is low risk, so I don't know. It's going to be a battle in training camp. It's going to be fun. Let me know your thoughts on all this down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for tuning in every single day. We'll have a lot more content coming your way very, very soon. I'm Josh Gosse, and I'll catch you in the next one.